it's another week with the worm factories, and we're going to take a peek in there. But I wanted to take this opportunity and thank you all who's watched my first video about the Worm Factories 101. And if you haven't seen that video, you should go check it out. And if you have, I would love to hear from you if there was any tips in there that is helping you or you think is going to help you. So this week with this worm factory, I'm not going to feed them, and I'm going to talk to you about why. And then I'm going to show you just how easy it is to have a finished tray. So in the past with other types of bins, you know, you had to like scrape from the bottom and there's still tons of worms. Here, I'm going to show you just how easy it is with this kind of setup about having a finished tray. And then I'm going to talk to you about why I'm not going to feed this week, but I still feel like it's a good opportunity to go in there once a week and just check everything out. So let's take a look. So one thing I noticed, and it's kind of perfect timing, is that when I dig around on this top one, which is supposed to be the finished one, I can actually, I don't see any worms. Or like maybe here's a little one. So yeah, so 2 worms, you know, which is really good. And there might be some little baby ones. And so what I'll do is I will transfer this into a bucket. And I will leave it in the bucket and use it, or I might sift it. But so that's all ready, which is like super easy. I mean, how many worm bins can you say all you needed to do was, you know, move the stuff from the top? There's no sifting, there's no picking out any worms. And that's the way I've been doing it for a couple of years now. Now here's the second one, and you can see they hardly touched any of this paper. And I think there's a couple of reasons. I really fed them really heavy last week, so they haven't been hungry enough to really eat the paper. This is the corner that had food, and I can still see food in there, and that's why I am not going to feed them. But I still like to get in here once a week and really check them. Now this is that new bin that I started, and they ate all the food that I put in here, but there's no worms in here. You know, this time I might have put a little too much of that wood pulp, and they don't like it as much. It's also a little dry. So what I'm going to do is I am going to feed this section just to kind of encourage them to come in here. And, you know, that's the way it might go when you start a new bin. But, you know, they have, you know, 3-4 other bins that they can happily be in. And I take this one off. And this one, you can see they've eaten a little bit more of the paper. And which I have noticed that a lot of times they will kind of, you know, work from the bottom up. And there's still some food in here, but, you know, I'm just going to loosen it up just a little bit where the food is not, because that's another thing is, you know, this is kind of getting pretty wet, and you don't want it soggy and heavy. It makes it hard for them to get into. And then this is the bottom one, and you can see there's just some paper, but the food is still there. And this is pretty soggy too. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a mix. And like I said, I'm going to move this one to the top. So, and I actually might move this one here that we just started to the bottom. And then this was the top one. Okay, so, no paper, no food, except for that one, because I just really wanted to encourage them to eat in there. And then let's go over. So, and then this is that top one, which I said I'll move over to a bucket now. But let's show you the second bin. Okay. Now, this is the second bin. And, there's still a decent amount of worms in here. So, I'm just going to give it a good mix. Okay, and then this was the one with the rabbit bedding. And when I came and looked, it was really dry. And I actually don't see any worms in here, which is really interesting because the worms usually really love it. I think, again, because I really heavily fed them. They're munching down on the food scraps. So again, and I do have to say, this bin that has the European night crawlers, they don't nearly eat as much as the red wigglers, and that's why I reintroduced some of the red wigglers, because the night crawlers were just like hardly eating any of the food scraps. So, and I really wanted, so here is the corner, and you can just see, how loaded that is. But, they've actually eaten this pretty good. But I'm still not going to feed them. I just wanted to show you, when I lifted that tray that was on top, you can just see how many worms were sitting up there on top. And that was actually the corner where the food was on the top one. As you can see how many worms are here. And that was the top of the corner where the food was in the top bin. And they're just crazy in there. Okay, so this is the second from bottom. And here's the food. They've kind of eaten that, but I'm not going to feed them. I am going to just mix it around a little bit because it's pretty soggy. And then this is the bottom. And, they've eaten. All the paper is pretty much gone. It's a little soggy, but they've eaten. Oh, there's some of the food. So I'm just going to kind of give it a mix. And then again, I'm going to put this one on top. So I rotate, so the ones that were on top will go on the bottom. So, and it's actually the one with the bedding. And then just put them all back. And like I said, I like to get in here and check them. But, I'm not going to feed them because I don't want to put too much food in there and it become an issue. And, I'd rather have some more bins than, and have them take a little bit of time than me ending up with, you know, a problem. Okay. But I wanted to show you that we made this wooden bin. It was something I've been wanting. I wanted a worm bin that wasn't plastic. So my husband made this one out of wood. And this is the first time I've used a worm bin that is stacking. So I don't have too much to say, except I know right off the bat right now it's going to be too heavy. So we'll make another one, and it needs to be lighter for sure. But I've had the worms in here, and they've been in here 3 days, and they're happy. And I am going to feed them. And what I'm going to do with these bins is that I'm actually not going to fill all the trays. I'm just going to fill one of the trays at a time. And then when this tray is completely full, I will start another tray. So this is the food that's been food processed. I'm going to still put it in a corner. I'm going to cover it up. And then I just have some of this batting that I'm just going to use to kind of hold in the moisture, because a wooden bin is going to dry out faster than a plastic bin. When we were at the farm, we had big wooden bins, and they definitely dry out faster than these plastic ones. But that is this wooden bin. And yeah, I'll keep giving you updates. And, you know, after I've used it for a while and I feel like I'm more confident with it and know exactly how it's going to work, you know,